Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 342. Hello, Trail Seeker, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Learn True Health podcast. I am thrilled to have you learn from Brad Yates today. I love his technique. In today's interview, he actually had me do it, and he has you follow along and experience this type of acupressure that you see instant results with. It's really funny because as I was following along with his instructions, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm tapping here, I'm tapping on the different acupressure points. And I wasn't really noticing while I was doing it, but then by the time we were done, I felt drunk. I was so calm and relaxed. It was really interesting how quickly it lowers cortisol. And in fact, he talks about some studies that prove that using this technique significantly lowers stress and lowers stress hormones. Now, he's going to be coming to some major cities live and teaching his day-long class, and I'm attending the one that's coming up in Seattle. So that is going to be April 13th, Saturday, April 13th, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Linwood Convention Center in Seattle. I would love to see you there. As you listen to this interview today, if you think to yourself, man, I'd really love to join Ashley and do Brad's live event. It's called Tap Into Your Best Self. He teaches you all the techniques to take EFT into your daily life to decrease stress, stop cravings. He actually has a technique that completely has you stop craving, allows you to lower anxiety, increase happiness, increase productivity. He has 800 different videos on YouTube with these using this technique in different ways in your life to enhance and enrich your life. And you get to learn all about it in person with him. So in Seattle, Saturday, April 13th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you want to join me, go to learntruehealth.com/Seattle, and that'll take you to the page to sign up. I'd love to see you there. And if you're not in Seattle, he is coming to some other cities. So he's coming to Austin, Texas, June 8th. That's Saturday, June 8th. You can go to learntruehealth.com/Austin to get tickets to June 8th's Tap Into Your Best Self class. For Las Vegas, it's Sunday, June 9th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. You can go to learntruehealth.com/Vegas. For Atlanta, Georgia, he's going to be there June 22nd. That's Saturday, June 22nd from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Go to learntruehealth.com/Atlanta to sign up there. And he'll be in Philly June 23rd. Go to learntruehealth.com/Philadelphia. Excellent. Well, I know you're going to love today's interview. Please share it with those that you know would love a technique, a powerful technique to help them get better sleep, focus more, better energy, decrease stress, and increase the feelings of joy and happiness in their life and an overall sense of awesomeness. So I think all of our friends could use that. So definitely share this episode with your friends. And again, if you're in the Seattle area, please come to the training. I would love to see you. I'm excited. I'm bringing a ton of my friends, and I can't wait to take his day-long course, learntruehealth.com/Seattle to sign up for that. Awesome. Have a fantastic day and enjoy today's interview. Today is going to be so much fun. We have with us Brad Yates. He is an expert in emotional freedom technique. If you've never tapped yourself into better health or a better mood, then you are in for quite a ride. EFT is very interesting if you've never experienced it. So I'm really looking forward to those who've never experienced EFT to hear what Brad has to say and to follow some of his wonderful tools, and he's going to guide us through some techniques. And for those who have experienced EFT, you're going to really appreciate how Brad teaches it today. Welcome to the show.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely. Now, you came highly recommended. One of our avid listeners, Naomi, told me that I absolutely had to have you on the show. You are coming to Seattle to teach a class here locally, but you also teach all around the world online. You have teleseminars and you teach in person as well. We're going to definitely discuss how people can learn from you later in the show. But first, I'd love to get into your story. I really am curious. How did you become an expert in emotional freedom technique?
How does a grown man find himself tapping on his face for a living?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I knew from a young age that that's what I was going to do. Uh, hardly. I actually was going to, well, I was an actor, I was a professional actor. I had gotten a degree in theater. I had traveled around the world doing children's theater. And then I moved to Hollywood to become a movie star, as one does. And while there, I met a woman, fell in love, and got married. And when our first child was on the way, I was thinking, maybe I should have a backup career too. So rather than finding a normal, steady kind of job, I trained to become a hypnotherapist because I'd always been fascinated in the power of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started doing that and really fell in love with it. It was a great transitioning from being an actor into being a hypnotherapist because I had a trained actor's voice. So that was really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And for a change, when my audience fell asleep, that was actually a good thing. So so I enjoyed that too. So I was still pursuing my career as an actor while building a practice as a hypnotherapist. And like after a couple of years, when our second child was on the way, it really hit me that this is the career that I was meant to have, doing personal development work. This was, as much as I loved acting, this was much more fulfilling. It just felt like a better use of my gifts and talents. So we made the decision to leave Los Angeles and move to Northern California. And in that process, through some other hypnotherapists that I had gotten to know online, I kept hearing about this tapping process. And there was this energy psychology conference going on in Las Vegas, and I really ought to go check it out. So I went and I took a 1 day training with Gary Craig, the founder of Emotional Freedom Techniques, or EFT. And it was fascinating, this process of tapping on your face, which admittedly looks a little strange to people when they haven't seen it before. It's like it looks a little odd, but having come from my acting background, and one of the things I had done as an actor was I had gone to Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Clown College. So at this point, tapping was not the strangest thing I'd ever had to do.
Right.
It's like, so I was, a little more open-minded than some people might otherwise be. So doing this tapping, and what really sold me on the tapping process was he passed out Hershey's Kisses to everybody and said, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much would you like this chocolate right now? And I was at an 8 or a 9 because I was a bit of a chocoholic. And then we did some tapping on chocolate cravings. And after a couple of moments of tapping, I could not eat the chocolate. I had as much interest in it as I did the foil wrapper. And I didn't eat chocolate for 2 years after that. Just no desire whatsoever. So I was thinking, this is very interesting. There's something to this process. And so when I came home from that conference, I started experimenting with hypnotherapy clients. And so like at the end of the first session that I tried this, I said, well, we've got a few minutes left. I just want to try this simple little technique, and did the tapping. And little by little, it became my main modality. And I still use a little bit of hypnosis in a lot of my sessions, but tapping became my main modality because it's so simple to use, and it really, I mean, quite literally puts the power in the person's own hands. They have the power at their own fingertips, so that wherever they might be, they're able to use this technique. And so I started building my career as a tapper. And right around this time, or shortly afterwards, YouTube happened. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if there was a tapping video that people could use to start their day? And I'll call it Tap of the Morning. It was the only video I ever intended to create. This one video, put it up. And then about 6 months later, I had an idea that, there really ought to be a video to end the day. And I'll call it Tap of the Evening. And now I'm done. And then a few months later, had another idea, and then another idea, and now it's been a decade, and I have over 800 videos on YouTube. So here I am.
Very cool. I have to ask you to teach us the chocolate tap. Can you do that?
Yeah, and it's very much the same as any other tapping protocol, because what we're doing basically, so tapping or emotional freedom technique is originally based on acupuncture. So for thousands of years in Chinese medicine, they've said there's this flow of energy through the body along these pathways called meridians. And when this energy is flowing naturally, we experience our natural state of health and well-being, physically and emotionally. And when this energy gets disrupted in some ways, then we don't feel so good. We have discomfort, stress, anxiety, fear, things like that. So by stimulating the same kind of points that would be used in acupuncture, we cultivate that healthy flow of energy. We start to feel better, and when we feel better, we think better and we make better choices. And we also have modern research, and in fact, you mentioned that you've spoken with Dawson Church. Dawson had done a research study, and he may have mentioned it, where they measured people's cortisol levels. So cortisol is one of the stress hormones, and they did a double-blind study. The group that did the tapping, their cortisol levels dropped by an average of 24%,
Wow.
which was so remarkable that the lab technicians threw out the first batch saying something had to go wrong because that couldn't be possible, and ran it again and found it, oh, wow, that really did happen. So it really is that effective as a stress relief. So when we look at the fact that we make most of our choices at an emotional level, including our choices about what we eat. We look for, especially when we're not feeling so good, we look for what will make me feel better. What has traditionally made me feel better? What do I associate with happiness? Oh, chocolate, ice cream, cookies, cake, all associated with parties. Besides the sweetness level, there's all this emotional stuff around sweets. So as we tap, we clear out whatever stress we might be experiencing that's telling us to go and make a questionable choice from a health perspective and just trying to take care of ourselves. And then we look at it and say, oh, that's really not something I want to put in my body right now.
Very cool. So when we have that craving, it doesn't just have to be chocolate, but when we have that craving, or we feel like we're moving towards using food to comfort us, then you can use the tapping to decrease the stress. So then we're not going to be using food to soothe us.
Right. We're no longer using it as a drug, and we're able to say, what do I want that's healthy for my body?
My concern with EFT is that people are not, or and maybe this is my misconception, but they're not having a conscious experience of their unconscious resolution. They're tapping and they're feeling better, but what if there's stuff at the unconscious level that they need to process and learn from and move through? Does EFT allow for that?
Yes, I think that EFT allows for it more than a lot of other processes, which is why it can be so beneficial in conjunction with talk therapy. I always look at it as a complementary therapy rather than alternative therapy. But the reason that we so often don't see that unconscious stuff that's really bothering us
Mm.
is because it doesn't feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
Part of us says, don't go looking at that. And we have a stress response that tells us to look away. So one of the analogies I love is a couple years ago when we got my wife a new car, we went all out and got the car with all the bells and whistles, literally, like all the chimes. And so it has this chime that when you cross a lane on the freeway, a chime goes off, unless you've used your turn signal. So it's letting you know you're crossing a line that you weren't maybe supposed to do. So if you're drowsy and you're weaving, it's letting you know that. So we have that internally as well. When we start to cross a line outside of we have this line around our comfort zone, and when we start to cross that line, a chime goes off. We have a stress response. Something says, "Warning, stop," and tries to course correct us and keep us back in our comfort zone. So when we go looking for those things that are uncomfortable, it tries to stop us. And so many of those things that, those lines are defined by things that have happened in the past. If we have an incident where someone has mistreated us, we will make a decision about ourselves based on that. Like, oh, I just don't deserve nice things, or people are always going to be mean to me, or I'm not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so that memory, that belief is going to get stuck in there and create that line to keep us safely in our lane. And it's not going to want us to know what's there. It's like, no, you don't have to worry about what's going on here. You just stay in your lane. Don't worry about all that other stuff. And we have a stress response when we really go looking for that. And so we often avoid those places where the healing could happen. And with the tapping, we're clearing that stress response, and we relax, and we're able to say, no, I'm okay. I can take a look at this. I can go up in the attic and start looking through the boxes and find out what might be creating the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually believe it creates more of an opening. Now, there are times when we don't have to. And I often, when I'm working with a client, I'll often use the wording, I'm allowing myself to see whatever I need to see
Mm-hmm.
and clearing whatever I don't need to see. Because it's sometimes like taking the trash out from your kitchen. You have your trash can in the kitchen, you put stuff in there, and at the end of the week, you tie up the bag and you take and you throw it in the garbage. And you can just throw it in the garbage and it's all gone. You don't have to open the bag up and go back and re-examine. It's like, oh, okay, here's the milk carton I finished yesterday, and there's the egg carton from 3 days ago. And I don't know what that is. Maybe I should figure out what that is before I can throw it away. We just tie up the bag and throw it, and we just know that it's gone. So it very
Right.
often happens like that. So, the tapping, it's peeling the layers of the onion, so we're able to see what we need to see, and sometimes we're able to just clear something, and we know that we have that freedom because we're able to cross that line without the chime going off anymore.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because it's not the day to day or the week to week stressors like that person cut me off or the someone didn't put their shopping cart away, like the little things that might really set us off because when we have many small accumulation of many small negative events and we haven't figured out how to deal with stress on a day-to-day basis, then it can add up. And
Yeah.
it doesn't, we don't need to sit there and emotionally process like why that person not putting their shopping cart away made us so angry, because really what it is an accumulation over time of the garbage, right, that we're not dealing with, and the stress level is getting higher and higher. But then also every time something little happens that makes us angry, we're lighting up that gestalt neurologically inside us of all the major events that we haven't resolved yet. So we need to
Yes.
take out the trash, which we don't have to examine the trash, the little day-to-day things, but we want to get to a safe place where we can examine the root, the underlying root of the major issues that we're still holding on to, the sadness, the anger, the fear, the limiting decisions, like you said, those major past events
Yeah.
that are unconscious. Tapping allows us to clear out so much of the junk so that we can feel safe enough to process those events to release them as well.
Right. So if there's something at the bottom of the trash can that is stuck in there and has been rotting, uh, in general, we'll often, sometimes we'll just focus on the simple little things in the trash can and go, oh, I can look at this. Oh, it's probably this that smells. It's probably that smells. And I believe the tapping allows us to feel more confident and feel safer to go and say, what's really in there? What do I really need to deal with here? And
Mm-hmm.
and like you said, it does build up. That's the thing. That's why I always recommend to folks, tap on a daily basis. Make it part of your energy hygiene. Because we have physical hygiene. Most of us wouldn't go more than a day or two without taking a shower or brushing our teeth because, we don't wait until the people around us are holding their noses and saying, "Hey, dude, take care of that." We just do it as a maintenance thing to make sure that the filth and grime doesn't build up. But stress, most of us have no way of dealing with that on an effective level. We may have ways of masking it, whatever our drug of choice might be, chocolate or alcohol or whatever it might be, reality TV. People have all kinds of different ways of just trying to mask it so I don't have to look at what might be bothering me. And tapping is a great way to remediate that stuff, just like taking a daily shower or brushing our teeth.
Mm-hmm. I love that you said energy hygiene. I'm also imagining that this is emotional hygiene as well.
Yeah, and sometimes I say that as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost interchangeable
Right.
in many ways, because energy is, yeah, what we experience as energy is that, people say, well, you know what emotion is? It's energy in motion.
When I interviewed Dawson Church, he talked about how there are studies now showing that using EFT is incredibly effective at addressing post-traumatic stress to the
Yes.
point where it's now starting to be implemented like with vets. I'm thinking something that's in my mind is today, I think it was today or yesterday, a teenager shot herself to death
Mm,
in Florida in a high school, and just thinking about the suicide rates in our teens, which is out of control. It's unacceptable. One death is unacceptable, right? But now it's almost like a common occurrence to hear these violent acts that are happening in our teens. And we don't have anything set up in our education system to teach emotional intelligence, emotional hygiene to our youth.
yeah.
Can you talk about your experience with EFT in working, since you're a father, in working with children and teens?
Yeah, and Dawson has done great work in speaking with the VA and getting them to see the benefits of tapping for PTSD. And I have another friend of mine, Dr. Laura Layden, who went to Parkland in Florida after the school shooting to work with people, and also in Sandy Hook in
Mm,
Connecticut to deal with the trauma. She's also worked with genocide survivors in Rwanda,
mm,
using the tapping to clear the stress from that. And that really is the thing, is that we don't have these tools. Stress relief tools are not taught to children. There's starting to be more schools that are introducing mindfulness, and that's great. I several years back had the thought, because I kept working with clients, and as we were tapping and peeling the layers of the onion, so many of the issues that were troubling them were rooted in childhood events.
mm-hmm,
And I thought, okay, I got to do something here to introduce tapping to kids so that they can learn how to deal with that day.
mm-hmm,
Something unfortunate happens, they clear it that day rather than having it then, that lane change chime, keeping them in a very narrow lane for the rest of their lives.
mm.
So I wrote a book called The Wizard's Wish, about a wizard who discovers tapping. And then I actually shot some videos with my daughter. So I have a brief series of videos for children for tap, and I actually have a new book called Garden of Emotions that has QR codes throughout the book that that take folks to tapping videos for kids on how to have a great day, how to have a positive attitude, and all kinds of things like that. And there are a lot of efforts right now to get tapping into more schools. I have a friend, Dr. Peta Stapleton in Australia. She's a university professor of psychology, and she has a program called Tapping in the Classroom. And so this is a program for teaching teachers how to introduce
Nice.
tapping into their classrooms to deal with this stuff. It one of the really cool things is the country of Slovenia has paid for their teachers to go through this program. It's like, okay, US, if Slovenia can do it.
Right? Oh my gosh. And so what are the results? How have the children of Slovenia improved, or have statistically have you they've there's has there been a noticeable difference?
And that I don't know. I have to check in with PETA and find out if they've done any research and follow up in Slovenia. You know, apparently the government of Slovenia was impressed enough with the research that PETA had done
Mm-hmm.
with some of the schools in Australia, and working with test anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
because there's a place where kids get all stressed out, and there's nothing teaching them how to deal with that stress.
Right.
There's also nothing teaching them to deal with the stress that they might be feeling in their lives anyway. So you have a child who's, maybe that morning their parents had a huge fight, and then they come in and they're expected to take a test, and they're going to be graded on their knowledge based on how they do that day, which may have been the worst day they've ever had,
Mm-hmm.
because there's nothing to help them be in the right state of mind for the most beneficial learning environment. So, you know, there's numerous studies now with all kinds of all kinds of benefits from it. But absolutely being able to introduce this to kids so that if we teach it young enough, then long before they get to high school, they're already have coping mechanisms that can help them deal with so much of the stuff that comes up. By
Mm-hmm.
high school, we say, wow, it's at high school that someone at that young is feeling drawn to hurt themselves in that way, or even in lesser ways. All kinds of different traumatic things that the kids do to themselves. But even at that young age, they've already gone through years of traumatic events, maybe, and
Mm.
without any and so often without any acknowledgement of it, without, and I think parents do the best they can based on their limited programming. So a kid might be going through something tough, and the parent will say, "Well, just walk it off," or "Don't talk about it." You know, the stories of children who have been molested, and they try to tell their parents, and their parents, because it's some other family member, it's like, "No, you can't talk about that,"
Yeah.
and it just has to go inside, eating away at the person. So as we build these resources for dealing with that stress, and not just talking about it, but with the tapping, having that mind body approach and dealing with the physical things that go on with trauma, it just can be so effective.
Absolutely. I mean, stress alone can create ulcers, can epigenetically trigger dormant diseases like autoimmune conditions. And there's a big link between, I believe the statistic was something like 70 something percent of those with fibromyalgia have had more than three adverse childhood events.
Yeah.
You look at those who are morbidly obese, and more than not, they will talk about the trauma they experienced ongoingly as a child.
Yeah.
And so, we're using food, and we're using drugs, and using, substances that might not be healthy to cope with the day-to-day emotional stress of growing up, and then not having our parents not having the resources. So this
Right.
we can stop that vicious cycle that's getting passed down from generation to generation, because the parents can learn to tap, the children can learn to tap, and they can learn how to just pause. And even
Yeah.
even if tapping, because there's so many reasons we could unpack it and explain. There's so many reasons why EFT works. And the first reason that I really like is that it's a break state. We're
Yeah.
stopping and we're just doing a little bit of an internal check. We're breathing, and it's just that little pause in between the stressor and allowing it to bottle up inside and eat us alive. And that pause is so helpful. And then of course you mentioned that we're tapping on meridians, these energy centers in the body. um, can you go deeper and just talk about maybe your favorite aspects of why EFT is so interesting?
Oh, there's seen so many things that it's so much of it is fascinating, because the one of the catchphrases with EFT is try it on everything, whatever's bothering you. And like you said, stress is so prevalent, and there are those who will say that stress is at the root of at least 95% of our issues. It's either the cause of our issues, physical and or emotional, or or at least it worsens it. There may be things that there's an actual physical component that's not based on emotional stress, but feeling stressed about it makes the problem even worse. Sometimes when I'm tapping with somebody who has some physical condition, it's like, okay, I'm not going to say, by tapping, we're going to cure cancer or whatever issue it might be, the physical issue. But if we can lower the stress about that, lower the different emotional pains that might be coming with that, guilt, sadness, anger, and the body has such powerful natural healing abilities that as we free up our emotional resources from that stress, that gives us a better ability to heal.
That's a great point. Even if it only did one thing, right? Because it does a
Yeah,
bunch of things, but even if it only decreased stress in the moment, how incredibly powerful is that? So many of us haven't been taught because our parents didn't know and our grandparents didn't know, haven't been taught techniques for how to deal with stuff in the moment and without reacting. That's the thing about
right.
road rage, for example. It's just a bunch of babies with cars reacting, right? We're just all
Yeah,
reacting to each other. It's incredibly unhealthy. And then especially with social media, you see all this bullying and it's just reaction, reaction,
yeah,
reaction. We read
yeah,
something and we immediately will just spew out hateful things, or there's no emotional intelligence, that pause in
right,
between the
right.
feedback, the whatever we're the input, and then how we choose to react to it. So we're just being like babies.
Yeah, when we're triggered emotionally, and we go into fight or flight, which made a lot of sense 100,000 years ago when there were actual life-threatening situations. But our mind still responds the same way, even with, someone looks at us cross-eyed, and we go, "What?" And we go into that thing. And when we go into that fight or flight, our prefrontal cortex goes offline. All of our
Mm-hmm.
creative, clever thinking, bye bye. and
Mm-hmm.
and we get reactive, and then we do something reactive, and then someone else gets triggered. So especially with social media, like you said, it's there's so much of it, and so many of the things that are put out there are triggering. So many of them are meant to be triggering. There are people who want you to be triggered, because the more triggered you are, the less clearly you think, and the less clearly you think,
Mm.
the easier you are to control. So there's a method to that madness.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we allow ourselves to calm down, and the prefrontal cortex comes back online, and we can look at it and go, okay, so I think it's tapping is a great technique to use when you're driving, when someone cuts you off, and it's like, because we feel like there's a personal threat. It means we attach meaning to all these things. Oh, that person cuts me off. They think they're better than I am. They think that I don't deserve to be able to drive where I'm at. And it's like, no, they didn't think that at all. They didn't even see you. You're probably completely unaware of your existence, and they may be rushing to the hospital because a loved one has just been admitted, or you have no idea what's going on for them. But we create these meanings that are stressful to us. So, when you look at how stress is involved in virtually everything, then yeah, if EFT only works to reduce stress, that's why it's so effective with so many things. I was introducing this to someone years ago. I think it was at Stanford University. I was talking about doing a workshop there, and they were kind of put off, and they said, "Yeah, it sounds like a panacea, and it just cures everything." It's like, no, I'm not saying it cures everything. It helps deal with the stress, but since stress is involved in almost everything, that's why it's so beneficial with all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not looking at it as some magic bullet that we can't understand. But we're still figuring out the exact mechanism. But we do see that the stress is reduced, and in fact there are more different physiological markers that they're finding. An improvement in gene expression, lowered cortisol, various other things that they're finding with groups doing the tapping. So with all those different benefits, it's like, okay, this makes sense to do this, if you can get over the fact that it looks a little strange at first.
How similar or different is it to acupuncture? or acupressure. Acupuncture and acupressure use meridians of the body, and they create similar results in that they lower cortisol, lower stress levels. But you have to go to an acupuncturist. So you can't, like, in the middle of your exam when you're stressed out or at night with your chocolate craving, you can't, like, get up and go to your acupuncturist. So is it similar? It's utilizing meridians of the body. Is it similar or is it totally different?
Well, I mean, it is a form of acupressure. The difference between it, one of the catchphrases that it's emotional acupuncture without the needles. So yeah, most of us, certainly some acupuncturists have their own needles they can apply to themselves on their own, but most of us wouldn't want to. Most of us should not be applying needles to ourselves. So to have this tool, literally at your fingertips wherever you are is amazing. What I also love about it is that it's so simple. And while when I do the tapping, it's a very creative and intuitive process for me, and I say all kinds of things. I go around. It's an exploratory process of looking for what might be the underlying issues here. What could be at the root of this? But the tapping on its own, even without any words, will help us relax. So it's something you could immediately start doing. And so as you said, if you're feeling stressed out about a test, you can't suddenly go to the acupuncturist, but you can tap, and there are subtle ways to tap where people won't even notice that you're doing it. And this is what makes it so profound in terms of stress relief techniques, because you can go to a number of stress relief workshops, and they'll tell you about all of these things that you can do, like meditation and making sure you get a good night's sleep and eating a healthy diet. But when you're in that moment, taking the test or about to have an interview or whatever it is, and you're feeling stress, it's too late to be able to go and get a good night's sleep the night before. Or you may not have the time to go take a long walk. And you may be too stressed out to even try to meditate. Trying to close your eyes and breathe steadily. But tapping is something that doesn't require anything else, and it can be done almost anywhere. Certainly, I look forward to the day when tapping is known by enough people that someone could be tapping in public and nobody will look twice. Or they'll see someone tapping and going, you know what? That's a reminder. I didn't tap yet today, and I have a little bit of stress that I should clear. And it must be a friendly reminder to folks. Before big meetings, at treaty signings and meetings over economic or whatever things, people tapping beforehand to clear the stress that comes up when they get triggered, and then everyone will have their prefrontal cortex engaged and actually look for the best solution as opposed to that one that serves their emotional needs. Like you said, these babies looking to soothe themselves and looking, I need to get what I want right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a fear response. People acting out of fear. And as we calm ourselves down and say, oh, there isn't a saber-toothed tiger here. My life isn't really in danger right now. I can take time to look at what's really going to suit me at this moment.
I imagine 20 years from now in Slovenia, we'll
Yeah.
go visit there. And
Yes.
on some street corner, there'll be just people tapping. Just look around, busy street, people coming in and out of banks, tap, 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 tap.
Yep.
It'll be great. It'll be the prime
Yeah.
example for the rest of the world to follow in their footsteps.
Those lists on happiest places to live.
Yeah,
Slovenia, right at the top.
right.
What is it about the Slovenians? Well,
So, how old are your kids now?
my kids are now 19 and 21.
Oh my gosh. So they
Yeah.
really were raised tapping.
Well, to a certain extent. I wish that I'd written my children's book when they were younger. So they were both a little almost too old for it when I wrote my first children's book. And I would certainly do tapping at times with them, but what your parents do is always uncool, especially if what your parents do is tapping on your face. So there was some pushback,
Really?
and yeah, and now I would find sometimes that they would do tapping without letting me know, because they certainly weren't going to admit it. But later they might admit it and use it at times. But it was one of those things that I didn't want to push, so that it was something that they're forced to do, like so many parents force their kids to do things, and then there's just resentment and resistance and things like that.
Got it. So get them while they're young, right?
Yeah, teach them before the resistance builds. Uh, so I'm always inspired when I hear from teenagers who are using the tapping. It's like, oh, that's so awesome, because that's a really tough time when
Mm-hmm.
you're really caught up in the hormones and needing to look cool to try something like this. So yeah, to teach it to kids who aren't yet worried about that is
Right.
really beneficial.
Right. Well, can you share some stories of success of anyone, but like, if teenagers come to mind, can you share some stories of success that you're really proud of?
Yeah, well, so I know in terms of kids, some of the success stories with kids is I worked with a young man who loved playing baseball, but got beamed. He was up at bat, and the pitcher hit him with the ball.
Mm,
And this happens all the time. But some of these events, and this is the thing is, events will happen to kids, and we'll see it's the sort of thing that happens to people all the time, and go, it's no big deal, just walk it off, without recognizing that for some reason how it affected that child at that moment was not the same as how it would have affected them at some other time, or how it might affect some other child. For some other child at that moment, getting beamed by the ball, it's like, ouch, that hurt, but you walk it off and you walk to the plate. But it had, for some reason, it had an emotional impact on this kid, and he couldn't go play baseball. He was afraid to go up to bat. So we did some tapping, and next thing I hear from his parents, he's loving baseball again. So uh, I've working with older folks. I worked with a woman who one of my favorite stories was a woman who had her husband had served her with divorce papers on her birthday,
oh my gosh.
and 20 years later, she was still just thinking about it, had anxiety, and we were able to get to the point where she was laughing about it. It's like, yeah, boy, he was never good at birthday presents. So, uh, and was then free from that, to look at it and go, yeah, it was an unfortunate situation, but I don't need to stress out about it. It was bad enough that day. I don't need to feel bad about it anymore. And given that he was that kind of person, I'm better off without him.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a gift. So to have those, to be able to change our mind about those situations, and then
Mm-hmm.
the freedom that we see, and I always love hearing stories from people saying, I'm in situations that used to cause me a lot of upset, and I don't feel that now.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I had this occur with flying. I had a traumatic event with flying years ago, and after that, every time I went to the airport, I suffered. I would get to the airport. I was flying to Houston once, and I literally was at the airport on my phone trying to calculate how long it would take me to drive instead of fly. And I realized that I wouldn't be able to make it to my event on time, even if I drove all night. And uh, so through tapping, I can now be very relaxed at an airport, and walk on the plane and not feel uptight. So it's
Very cool.
definitely makes life a whole lot easier.
Yes. I had a lot of anger that I was having problems processing from someone who had done a very large, uh, harmful thing to my family. Something that was supposedly, unforgivable, right? I realize obviously that forgiveness isn't about forgiving the person. It's about letting go for you, because I'm not
Right,
I'm not harming him by holding on to my anger, right? Like he's out of my that person's out of my life. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether I'm happy or I'm angry. Either way, it's not going to hurt him, right? But somehow we
right,
hold on to anger like it's going to hurt that other person. It's just hurting ourselves.
right. Taking poison and hoping the other person suffers.
Yeah, exactly. But tell it to someone who's angry, right?
Oh,
So
exactly.
and I was I was trying, but at the same time it was so the effects of what he did were still harming my family. So it would be, I was in it in the moment. I was in it, being triggered by it, and so used EFT. And I like to say I'm the most open-minded skeptic, but I'm open-minded enough to try everything, but I'm not gonna the placebo effect does not work on me. I'm a mismatcher. I don't believe anything's gonna work anyway, I'm not gonna get the nocebo effect. I'm not gonna talk myself out of a good benefit. I'm an open-minded skeptic.
Right.
And by the end of it, I was laughing. And I was like, okay. Now I just had really neutral feelings about that person. And I went from almost obsessing about thinking about that person and how many ways I could, strangle him for what he did to like just going, yeah, whatever, take it or leave it. That person's not in my life and I'm just going to move on. And that was
Right.
what, less than 15 minutes of EFT. So
Yeah.
that was a really interesting experience.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly it can happen. And just to make it clear, it doesn't always happen. These 1 minute wonders that can occur. It doesn't always happen that way, and sometimes it takes quite a bit of tapping to clear out the emotional distress because there may be all kinds of different aspects.
Hmm.
So sometimes it happens very quickly, and sometimes it's very slow. And unfortunately, because people will sometimes hear about those very quick shifts, they expect that it has to happen that way or it's not working. And I'll say, well, okay, it's like taking supplements. The results might not be immediate.
Right.
you
Take
know,
one vitamin C, and then get angry that your cold isn't gone.
right. Feeling, expecting that you should suddenly feel all this vim and vigor from taking one vitamin, or even say doing sit-ups. If you're really out of shape and you do 3 sit-ups and go, "Hey, I don't have a six-pack yet. What's the
This
deal?
isn't working.
Sit-ups don't work."
Yeah.
It's
Lies.
like it might take a few more, like a couple hundred or thousand more. But so, and the tapping is always providing some benefit, even if it's very subtle.
Do you tap every day?
I do. I do tap very. It's generally the first thing I do in the morning, and so it's for me. It's not just a matter of, oh, if I'm distressed, it's like taking a Tylenol. Well, I don't. I wouldn't. You take a Tylenol when you have a headache, but most people there's some people who take it as a daily basis for whatever reason. But for me, tapping isn't just a solution to a problem that I'm aware of. It helps clear out stress that I'm not aware of
Mm-hmm.
because I just sort of take it for granted that there may be things at a subtle level that I'm not aware of. Just like I brush my teeth, even if I don't see anything sticking out from between my teeth. I take a shower, even if I'm not aware that I stink,
Right.
just because it's a daily process for me. So I just like to have my energy as clean as possible, and it also allows me to look at uh, because we'll often block ourselves from taking positive action in the world in terms of our career, in terms of our health. So we might resist doing certain things because we have old programming telling us it's not safe.
Mm.
It's not comfortable. Exercise, that's going to be so uncomfortable. So I'll do tapping just to clear any resistance to going out and doing what I can do today so that I can have the best day possible.
Very cool. Can you walk us through that tapping exercise to have an awesome day? The awesome day tapping exercise.
Awesome.
Let's do that one.
Yeah, one of my videos is called, actually, I have two videos called Amazing Day. One of them is a shorter version of it. So for anyone who's new to tapping and not familiar with it, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our index and middle finger of, for the sake of argument, I'll just say your right hand. You can use either hand and tap on either side of the body, and many people will switch back and forth, or they'll tap both sides at the same time with both hands. So I often tap with both hands at the same time. In all of my videos, I tend to just tap with the right hand just because it's simpler that way to demonstrate it. So, but for right now, go ahead and take your right hand, and with the fingertips of your index and middle finger, gently tap on the side of your left hand. So what we call the karate chop point. So if you were to imagine you're going to use a karate chop to break some boards, you'd use that edge of your hand right between your wrist and your pinky. And it's just a light tap, tap, tap motion, just gently tapping
Is
there.
it like up and down the fleshy part that's below the pinky finger?
Yeah, just sort of right in the middle between your pinky and your wrist.
Okay.
And while we're tapping there, we state what the issue is. So in general, tapping is generally used with a negative statement, and this freaks a lot of people out. It's like, what? I'm supposed to do positive thinking. I'm not supposed to think about negative things because that'll make negative things happen. So I should only
Right.
focus on the positive.
Yeah.
So when we do EFT and say, even though I'm so angry at this person, it's like, what? You can't talk about anger. But
Traffic,
what?
taxes,
Yeah, yeah. Don't
doctor
mention any of that stuff.
bills,
Shh, quiet, quiet, quiet. Politics. No, don't
mortgage.
say
Yeah.
that word. Not in polite company. Um, but what we resist persists.
Hmm.
So, it's like if I'll say, if you have a beautiful living room with a beautiful carpet, and you also have a beautiful dog, and one day your beautiful dog leaves a not so beautiful gift on your carpet, you are not going to stand there and say, I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to just look at where the carpet is still clean and beautiful. Because if you do that, you're going to step in it
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to spread it around.
Mm-hmm.
And besides which, you're kidding yourself because as you're looking at the clean carpet, part of your mind is going, "There's poop there."
Right.
So we're just lying to ourselves if we're just trying to focus on the positive when there's something bothering us.
Icing on a mud pie.
Yeah. So now this is not a matter of just sitting there on the sofa and looking at the dog poop and going, "Oh, there's dog poop." We don't want to just keep going over and over the problem and focusing on it, but we do want to clean it up. So the tapping is we're going in, we're acknowledging it's there, we're cleaning it up, and then we get rid of it. And then we can go back to enjoying our living room without having to worry about walking around. So that's why we focus on the poop. So we'll rate that on a scale of 0 to 10, whatever the discomfort is. So if I'm feeling angry, I would say, okay, on a scale of 0 to 10, how angry am I at this person? And it's about an 8. And where in my body do I feel it? Oh, it's a tightness in my stomach. And there may be different physical symptoms of whatever's bothering us. Just like with the chocolate craving, where he asked on a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you want that chocolate? So you had a measurement of where the distress is. So then we would tap on the side of the hand and say, even though I have this anger, or even though I want this chocolate, I choose to love and accept myself.
I choose to love and accept myself.
Yeah. And we make that statement 3 times. And that's just kind of creating a some room to work with. And it acknowledges the issue, but also acknowledges that we accept ourselves. Because all of the issues that we have are there to protect us. Our anger is there to protect us. It's like a smoke alarm going off
Mm-hmm.
and telling us. Now, it may be a false alarm, but most of us don't deal with what the issue is. We just sit there and try to drown out the sound of the smoke alarm. And so we actually want to deal with it and find out what's going on. So we would state the issue and say, I love and accept myself, even though I have this issue. The next point we're going to tap is the eyebrow point. So right at the beginning of your eyebrow, just above your nose, just about the middle of your face, and gently tap there. And we'll generally tap a point 5 to 7 times, and depending on what wording we're using, so I may say a phrase that is a little bit longer, so we may be tapping the point 20 times, and that's okay. It's not like it has to be exactly between 5 or 10, or the whole thing doesn't work. So we gently tap right there at the beginning of the eyebrow, and we would say, all of this anger.
All of this anger.
Then we follow the eyebrow out to the side of the eye, the corner of your eye socket, and gently tap there. All this anger.
All this anger.
Then following the edge of your eye socket to right under the middle of your eye, just above your cheek. All this anger.
All this anger.
Then right below your nose, just above your upper lip, gently tapping there. All this anger.
All this anger.
Now just below your lower lip, just above your chin, all this anger.
All this anger.
Then we go to the collarbone. So if you feel where your collarbones just about come together, there's a little U shape at the base of your throat.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just tap with all of your fingers there, or even make a fist and tap where the collarbones just about come together.
Mm-hmm.
All this anger.
All this anger.
Now about 4 inches below your armpit. So it's right about bra strap level, and I'm sure even the guys can figure out where that is. And just tapping there with all of your fingers and say, all this anger.
All this anger. So it's
And finally,
below the armpit.
yeah,
Okay.
4 inches directly below your armpit.
Okay.
And then finally, the top of your head. So using all of your fingertips again, just tapping around little circles around the crown of your head. All this anger.
All this anger.
And then take a deep breath. And then we would check again and say, okay, now on a scale of 0 to 10, and how angry do you feel? And particularly paying attention to wherever you're in your body you might have been feeling that.
Like super calm.
Yeah. So you're already feeling the benefits of that stress relief. And, even in an example like this, where you may not have been feeling angry, hopefully after an hour of talking to me, you're not feeling angry. But even without feeling any anger and being in a relatively relaxed state, you can all see, yeah, but I'm even more relaxed now just after this little bit of tapping, because we're just calming the body down and clearing out any levels of stress that you might not have been aware of ahead of time. So that's the basics of tapping. That's EFT in a nutshell. Now we're going to have some fun with it.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I didn't really have any anger to begin with, but I was going with it, and like I tapped my hand for a while you were talking, and I'm like, okay, I don't feel anything, I don't feel anything. And then we're, tapping the forehead, don't feel anything, tapping the eyebrow, cheek, nose, lip, don't feel anything, tapping by the throat, right? And I'm like, okay, this is cool. And I'm tapping down below the armpit, and I'm like, whoa, wait a second. I'm feeling like really good right now. Whoa. So it's interesting. Yeah, don't judge it, just do it.
Yeah.
Because it's,
And we're peeling layers of the onions. That's the
yeah.
thing, is with the tapping, we create a safe place for things to come up. So even though you weren't aware of anything bothering you, through the tapping, it's like, okay, some things might have been coming up and getting released without you even having to know what they are. It's like, oh, I'm suddenly feeling better. Something just I just took the trash out. I don't know what was in there, but the room feels fresher now.
Have you worked with addicts who like want to stop using drugs or alcohol?
For 3 years, I taught a course at Sacramento Drug Court, and this was a court-mandated program for people coming out of jail on drug offenses.
Wow.
And they had to go through a recovery program. So for 3 years, I taught a class once a week. That was very interesting. It was a very different audience for me.
Right?
Yeah.
Did they like it? Were they receptive?
Well, not everyone. Not everyone was receptive to me coming in and telling them to tap on their face, but those who were willing, it was so awesome when they were open to it and would, some guy coming back and saying, this bleep really works.
I bet.
It's like, that's why they bring me in here each week, to teach it to you. This is not just, hey, you know what, we're letting them out of jail, but we still need to punish them, so we'll make them tap on their face each week, and that'll be further service to society. A little bit of extra punishment for their crimes.
I bet.
So it was really awesome to see that, and I have worked with folks with different addictions, and again, whether it's chocolate or drugs or alcohol, there is that that part of this that is looking for some kind of relief.
Mm-hmm.
As you were saying earlier about kids they're not learning from their parents how to deal with that stress, except that they are, because they're seeing their parents drink or smoke or do whatever it is that they do, and from a young age, we're just learning by example. We don't have, as a small child, we learn everything from watching and emulating our parents and others around us. That's how we learn how to talk. That's how we learn how to walk.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we have the same accent that our parents have, wherever we come from. and speak the same language. So as a small child, it's not that we say, okay, this is how people talk. All right, I'll do it that way. Oh, this is how people walk. I'll do it that way. Oh, this is how people deal with stress, eating a pint of ice cream. No, that doesn't sound healthy. I'm not going to do that.
Right.
We don't have that reasoning ability. No, when people get upset, they yell at each other and maybe they throw things at each other. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good idea. I won't do that. No, we learn that those are this is how adults, this is how people are supposed to deal with this situation. And so we pick up so much of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So my son is turning 4 this month, and I can't believe how many times I've caught myself going, "Oh my gosh, I'm just like my parents. This is crazy." Because it's so unconscious, because we really do. As much as we don't want to be like our parents, it's a reactionary. And I can definitely see EFT being a tool to help us to put that break state in there so
Yeah.
we can stop that vicious cycle.
That's one of the tough things about knowing this stuff is that with my children, when I'd find myself, losing my temper and saying something, it's like, oh, dang it, I know better than this.
Right?
Ignorance is bliss. Then I could just yell at my kids and not worry about it. But knowing this, but not yet being perfect.
Well, there's no such thing as perfection when it comes to parenting. It's just,
Exactly.
love them as
Exactly.
much as you can, and you're going to be great at it.
Yeah.
The tapping exercise you just taught us. So if we don't have anger, but we want to do it every morning just to take out the garbage, what can we say during it?
Yeah. So now we'll do our awesome day tapping.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. So I first wanted to give you folks that demonstration of the very simplest form of tapping, where you just allow yourself, obviously the simplest form is just tap. And you already know the points now. And of course, as I said, I've got over 800 videos on YouTube that you can find. But if you're feeling stress, you can just tap. You can tap while saying prayers, while saying affirmations. You can sing a song, or you can just be silent. The tapping's can be beneficial. But if you want to use words to focus on a particular issue, what I just showed you is the way to do it. Say, even though I have this issue, this anger, this chocolate craving, whatever it might be, and then on each point, just repeat that phrase, anger or chocolate craving or whatever it might be, and that'll be beneficial. Now, the way I do it, I like to be a little more creative and explore what might be going on. But we can also do tapping with a positive statement. There's some controversy about this. Some people say, no, no, tapping is only to remediate negative things, and you should always just focus on the negative things. For me, the joy and love and peace is our true nature, and anything else is just covering that up. So, as we focus on the positive, we're naturally going to be addressing whatever is in the way. If I say a positive affirmation, if I say I'm healthy and I don't feel like I'm healthy, by saying healthy, I'm just naturally going to be bringing up the arguments. So I will be doing the tapping on anything that is not health minded, that is not positive,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't feel good. So I find that by tapping on the so-called positive, we naturally clear out whatever is covering up the positive. So
Okay.
I talk about it as the Michelangelo process. So Michelangelo said that his statues were already there, perfect inside the marble. All he had to do was chip away what didn't belong to reveal the masterpiece inside. And to me, that's a perfect analogy for what we're doing with the tapping. So whether we're focusing on, oh, here's a piece of marble that doesn't belong, like this anger, this chocolate craving, this is a block of rock that just doesn't belong here, and I can chip that away. Or I can be focusing on, there's this magnificent statue inside, and I'm clearing away what doesn't belong, with my focus being revealing that masterpiece. Either way, I'm chipping away what doesn't belong.
Got it. Cool.
So, with that in mind, go ahead and close your eyes.
Okay.
Take a deep breath in and hold it, and let it go. And just go ahead and, breathing comfortably, just follow your breath through your body and just allow yourself to check in with how you're feeling emotionally and how you're feeling physically. And go ahead and rate yourself on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being awesome. I feel awesome right now. And if it's less than a 10, don't judge yourself for where the number's at. It's not a matter of you should be a 10. You should feel awesome 24/7. It's not a test. Just allowing yourself to get an idea of, where am I at right now? Allow yourself to be aware of, what might get in the way of that being a 10. So just allowing yourself to be aware of whatever might be going on in there. Allow yourself to be aware of any thoughts, beliefs, or memories that might be coming up that might be lowering your feeling of awesomeness. Just allowing yourself to be aware of what feels relevant and what feels important. Take another deep breath and open your eyes if you like. And go ahead and start tapping the side of your hand. And Ashley, if you will be my echo voice and repeat back what I say.
Okay.
And then everyone else just tap where I tell you to tap and repeat back what I say along with Ashley. Side of the hand. I choose to have an awesome day.
I choose to have an awesome day.
And I choose to love and accept myself.
And I choose to love and accept myself.
I choose to have an awesome day.
I choose to have an awesome day.
And I choose to love and honor myself.
And I choose to love and honor myself.
I choose to have an awesome day.
I choose to have an awesome day.
I mean, because why not?
Because why not?
I think I deserve that.
I deserve that.
And if I have any doubts about deserving it,
And if I have any doubts about deserving it,
I choose to clear that.
I choose to clear that.
Because I choose to have an awesome day.
Because I choose to have an awesome day.
And I choose to deeply and completely
And I choose it deeply and completely.
love, honor, and accept myself.
Love, honor, and accept myself.
And maybe anyone else who might show up today.
And anyone else who might show up today.
Because I choose to feel that awesome.
Because I choose to feel that awesome.
Tapping the eyebrow point. I choose to have an awesome day.
I choose to have an awesome day.
Side of the eye. I choose to have an awesome day.
I choose to have an awesome day.
Under the eye. I choose to feel awesome.
I choose to feel awesome.
Under the nose. I choose to do awesome things.
I choose to do awesome things.
On the mouth. I choose to perform in an awesome way.
I choose to perform in an awesome way.
Collarbone. I'm allowing myself to be awesome.
I'm allowing myself to be awesome.
Under the arm. Because the more I allow myself to be awesome,
Because the more I allow myself to be awesome,
top of the head, the more I'm likely to feel awesome.
the more I'm likely to feel awesome.
Eyebrow point. And create an awesome day.
And create an awesome day.
Side of the eye. Because I get to create my day.
Because I get to create my day.
On the eye. What I'm thinking and feeling.
What I'm thinking and feeling.
Onto the nose is going to contribute to the kind of day I have.
Is going to contribute to the kind of day I have.
On the mouth. So if I choose to have awesome thoughts.
So if I choose to have awesome thoughts.
Collarbone. And feel awesome feelings.
And feel awesome feelings.
On the arm. Guess what kind of day I'm going to have.
Guess what kind of day I'm going to have.
Top of the head. And part of me might be saying.
And part of me might be saying.
Eyebrow point. Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Side of the eye. You know some of the stuff you've got to do today.
You know some of the stuff you got to do today.
On the eye. And some of it is definitely not awesome.
And some of it is definitely not awesome.
Onto the nose. How could I possibly have an awesome day?
How could I possibly have an awesome day?
Onto the mouth. It's not up to me.
It's not up to me.
Collarbone. All this belief.
All this belief.
On the arm that it's not up to me.
That it's not up to me.
Top of it. Who taught me that crap?
Who taught me that crap?
Eyebrow point. And were they a Nobel Prize winner?
Were they a Nobel Prize winner?
Side eye. Who says they're right?
Who says they're right?
Onto the eye. If I choose to have an awesome day.
If I choose to have an awesome day.
On the nose. I can even deal with these things.
I can even deal with these things.
On the mouth. And still feel awesome.
And still feel awesome.
Collarbone. And I might even have an awesome outcome.
And I might even have an awesome outcome.
Onto the arm. I'm certainly going to have a better outcome.
I'm certainly going to have a better outcome.
Top of it. By approaching it this way.
By approaching it this way.
Eyebrow point. I'm open to the possibility.
I'm open to the possibility.
Side eye. That even if some of the things I have to do today.
That even if some of the things I have to do today.
On the eye. Are not exactly fun.
Are not exactly fun.
Onto the nose. I can still choose to have an awesome day.
I can still choose to have an awesome day.
Onto the mouth. And I'm clearing whatever might get in the way of that.
And I'm clearing whatever might get in the way of that.
Column. Whatever fears might be coming up.
Whatever fears might be coming up.
On the arm. Whatever doubts might be coming up.
Whatever doubts might be coming up.
Top of the head. I'm letting that stuff go.
I'm letting that stuff go.
Eyebrow point. Whatever resistance I might have to having an awesome day.
Whatever resistance I might have to having an awesome day.
Side eye. And part of me might say,
And part of me might say,
out of the eye, what a silly thing to say.
what a silly thing to say.
Out of the nose, why on earth would I resist having an awesome day?
Why on earth would I resist having an awesome day?
Out of the mouth, why? I don't know. Why do I do that on a regular basis?
I don't know. Why do I do that on a regular basis?
Collarbone, because the extent to which we're not experiencing what we want.
Because to the extent with which we're not experiencing what we want.
On the arm, tends to be the extent to which we're resisting it.
Tends to be the extent to which we're resisting it.
Top of the head, whether that's health or money.
Whether that's health or money.
Eyebrow point, or just having an awesome day.
Or just having an awesome day.
Side eye, I don't do it consciously.
I don't do it consciously.
On the eye, but at some unconscious level.
But at some unconscious level.
On the nose, I have this belief that my days shouldn't be awesome.
But I have this belief at the unconscious level that my days shouldn't be awesome.
On the mouth, once in a while I'm allowed an awesome day.
Once in a while I'm allowed an awesome day.
Collarbone, but certainly not on a regular basis.
But certainly not on a regular basis.
On the arm, and it's not because I'm bad or stupid.
And it's not because I'm bad or stupid.
Top it, it's just my programming.
It's just my programming.
Eyebrow point. I probably haven't known a lot of people.
I probably haven't known a lot of people.
Side eye, who usually have awesome days.
Who usually have awesome days.
On the eye. In fact, I've known an awful lot of people.
In fact, I've known an awful lot of people.
On the nose, who very rarely had awesome days.
Who very rarely had awesome days.
On the mouth. And I learned to expect that.
And I learned to expect that.
Collarbone. And I really love and appreciate myself.
And I really love and appreciate myself.
On the arm, for creating a life that makes sense to me.
For creating a life that makes sense to me.
Top head. And now I'm open to changing my mind.
And now I'm open to changing my mind.
Eyebrow point. Why not have awesome days most of the time?
Why not have awesome days most of the time?
Side eye. I know that life can happen.
I know that life can happen.
On the eye, and sometimes it's challenging.
And sometimes it's challenging.
On the nose, so I'm not setting up an expectation.
So I'm not setting up an expectation.
On the mouth, that every moment of my life.
That every moment of my life.
Collarbone, from this moment forward.
From this moment forward.
Onto the arm is going to be pure bliss.
Is going to be pure bliss.
Top of it. Although I'm totally open to that happening.
Although I'm totally open to that happening.
Eyebrow point. I won't set up an expectation.
I won't set up an expectation.
Side eye, such that I then have to be disappointed.
Such that then I have to be disappointed.
Onto the eye. But I choose to make it as awesome as possible.
But I choose to make it as awesome as possible.
Onto the nose. And I'm clearing any reason why I couldn't or shouldn't.
And I'm clearing any reason why I couldn't or shouldn't.
On the mouth. Clearing any belief that I don't deserve an awesome day.
Clearing any belief that I don't deserve an awesome day.
Collarbone. Clearing all these old messages.
Clearing all these old messages.
Onto the arm that might tell me I don't deserve it.
That might tell me I don't deserve it.
Top of it. That was just misunderstandings.
That was just misunderstandings.
Eyebrow point. The truth is.
The truth is.
Side eye. I am a magnificent child of the universe.
I am a magnificent child of the universe.
Onto the eye. Worthy and deserving of the best this world has to offer.
Worthy and deserving of the best this world has to offer.
Onto the nose. Nothing is too good for me.
Nothing is too good for me.
On the mouth. Because I could go outside.
Because I could go outside.
Collarbone. And see the same beautiful sky as anybody else.
And see the same beautiful sky as anybody else.
Onto the arm. And I choose to see this as a sign.
And I choose to see this as a sign.
Top of the head. That as far as the universe is concerned.
That as far as the universe is concerned.
Eyebrow point. I'm just as deserving as anybody else.
I'm just as deserving as anybody else.
Side eye. So I choose to have an awesome day.
So I choose to have an awesome day.
Onto the eye. I'm worthy and deserving of an awesome day.
I'm worthy and deserving of an awesome day.
Onto the nose. And I'm clearing any old reasons.
And I'm clearing any old reason.
On a mouth. Why I couldn't or shouldn't have an awesome day.
Why I couldn't or shouldn't have an awesome day.
Collarbone. All those old arguments.
All those old arguments.
On the arm. About how it's supposed to be hard.
About how it's supposed to be hard.
Top it. It's supposed to be a struggle.
It's supposed to be a struggle.
Eyebrow point. And clearing any fear.
And clearing any fear.
Side eye. That if I do have an awesome day.
That if I do have an awesome day.
On the eye. That's going to really upset some people.
That's going to really upset some people.
I don't know. So I'm going to be sitting here having an awesome day.
I'm going to be sitting here having an awesome day.
On a mouth. And some people that I might care about.
And some people that I might care about.
Collarbone might get really pissed off.
Might get really pissed off.
On the arm. Oh, sure. You're having an awesome day.
Oh, sure. You're having an awesome day.
Top of the head. And in the past.
And in the past.
Eyebrow point. My programming might have told me.
My programming might have told me.
Side of the eye. Oh, I'm upsetting this
Oh,
person.
I'm upsetting this person.
On the eye. In order to make them feel better.
In order to make them feel better,
On the nose. I need to feel less awesome.
I need to feel less awesome.
On the mouth. I'm not sure how that really helps
I'm
them.
not sure how that really helps them.
Collarbone. Me feeling less
Me
awesome
feeling less awesome
on the arm is not going to make anyone else feel more
is
awesome.
not going to make anyone else feel more awesome.
Top of it. That would be like standing at the beach.
That'd be like standing at the beach,
Eyebrow point. Enjoying the view of the ocean.
enjoying the view of the ocean,
Side eye. And having someone with me.
and having someone with me
On the eye. With their back turned to the ocean.
with their back turned to the ocean,
On the nose. Complaining about the view that I get.
complaining about the view that I get.
On the mouth. So I turn my back to the ocean.
So I turn my back to the ocean.
Collarbone. Now we're both missing the view.
Now we're both missing the view.
On the arm. I choose to keep enjoying the awesome view.
I choose to keep enjoying the awesome view.
Top of it. And encourage this other person to turn their butt around.
And encourage this other person to turn their butt around.
Eyebrow point. As a matter of fact, I am having an awesome day.
As a matter of fact, I am having an awesome day.
Side of the eye. I encourage you to do the same thing.
I encourage you to do the same thing.
Out of the eye. And if you have to tap on your face to do it, fine.
And if you have to tap on your face to do it, fine.
Out of the nose. I think it's worth it.
I think it's worth it.
Out of the mouth. I choose to have an awesome day.
I choose to have an awesome day.
Collarbone. I choose to feel as awesome as possible.
I choose to feel as awesome as possible.
On the arm. Letting go of whatever gets in the way.
Letting go of whatever gets in the way.
Top of the head. Setting myself free to feel awesome.
Setting myself free to feel awesome.
In body, mind, and spirit.
In body, mind, and spirit.
And take a deep breath. And go ahead and close your eyes again and go inside and just check in with how you're feeling. And on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being awesome, see if that number has gone up. Now, for a lot of you, the number will go up.
To 11.
For some, it may go dramatically up. And if you don't feel like the number's gone up, and it is possible that for some folks, the number may have gone slightly down, because what we've done is we've uncovered some stuff that you may not have been consciously aware of. You know, that stress that you've been avoiding because it didn't feel safe to look at. So it's like looking in if you were going to clean your living room because you had company coming over, and you look at it and go, well, on a scale of 0 to 10, how clean is it already? Oh, it's probably about an 8. But I want it to be a 10, so I go to clean it up. And in the process, I lift the rug and I find there's dirt that was swept under there. And I move the carpet, or I move the sofa, and I find there's dirty laundry under the sofa. It's no longer an 8 out of 10 on how clean it is. So it's like, oh, now it's like a 3 or a 4. Now, would we say, oh man, I never should have gone to clean my living room. It was much cleaner before I started cleaning. It's like, no, because now you can actually clean it out, and when it's clean, it really will be clean as opposed to just looking like it's clean. So if the number feels like it's gone down or is just the same, hopefully you're aware of, yes, but now I'm more aware of why I'm not feeling as awesome as possible right now, and now I can do something about that.
I feel like I just got off the elliptical trainer after exercising for 45 minutes. I have that endorphin high.
Yeah.
I feel really good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, I'm serious. I feel like I just walked out of the gym. Pretty awesome. Yeah.
In a way, you did.
Right. Well, my arm definitely feels like I got a workout. That's for sure.
Yeah. So the tapping rounds, as I demonstrated the first time around, it's some of the tapping rounds are just, really quick, and you can tap just one point, and and not even do a full round. You can just tap for a few moments. But when I'm doing a round like this, I just go with whatever words are coming up, and sometimes it'll go on for 20, 30, 40 minutes as the ideas are flowing, and just covering all kinds of bases. As you could hear through that, it's like I'll be going off on one idea, and then an idea will come up about, well, here's another reason why I might not allow myself to feel awesome. Oh, it might upset other people. Okay, I want to deal with that. I want to try to explore any of the reasons that I might have at an unconscious level as to why I couldn't or shouldn't feel awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And as I clear up those misunderstandings, then it's like, oh, actually, it makes sense for me to have an awesome day. I'm giving myself permission to have an awesome day.
I can definitely see that your experience as a hypnotherapist has really come in handy. That and your ability as an actor to improv and to use hypnotic languaging to help that person to bring stuff up to process while you're tapping.
Yeah, everything we do leads us to where we are, for better or for worse.
Right. So cool.
But we
So
could make it better.
so we do this every day. That would be really awesome. And what about coming back to the idea of food addiction and like someone, for example, being addicted to chocolate? Would they do this? Would they do the tapping with those points that you've showed us, or is there a different set of points that they tap for that?
Yeah, I would use the same points. And you could just say this chocolate craving, just as I had set it up
Mm-hmm.
when I was taking through this, asked
Mm-hmm.
how on a scale of 0 to 10 how much I wanted the chocolate, and said okay, it's about an 8 or 9, and then tapping through the points, and you could say this chocolate craving, and I remember Gary saying some things like, yum, oh, it's going to taste so good, oh, I'm going to enjoy it so much, and it gives me such happy feelings, and just playing with the wording like that, and and then stop whenever you like. You can stop after one round, or you can go a couple of rounds, and then say, okay, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much is that craving there? And as you clear that stuff out, you can get to the point where I am often, where I've because I've like I said, I didn't eat chocolate for 2 years, and then I went back, and I will go through periods where I'll have some chocolate. Like just recently, the Easter candy has come out, and those Reese's peanut butter eggs are a soft spot for me. So I'll have a couple of those, and then okay, that's enough. Now I want to clear my system, and I want to go back off of sugar for a while, and I'll tap, and those things can be sitting out in front of me, and I'm as likely to eat those as I would a rock, because it doesn't look like food to me. There's
Mm-hmm.
just no craving there. Now, what that will take to get to that point, I don't know. It'll vary for some people. For some folks, they can just tap a couple of points and they'll look at it and go, yeah, I wouldn't eat that. That first time with the Hershey's Kisses, he had us then take a bite of it. Couldn't eat it. It tasted too sweet. It tasted chalky. It felt like compressed chemicals,
Mm-hmm.
which in many ways it is. and and so you couldn't have forced me to eat it at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get to that point, and I remember someone in the room saying, "Please don't make me tap on this because you ruined French fries for me. Please don't ruin chocolate for me."
That's so
So
funny.
so you might go through this, and so don't use this on something that you don't want to give up forever, because you might never have
Mm-hmm.
a craving for it again. But again, it might come up again because you have years of programming telling you that this is what fixes problems for you.
Right.
When I'm upset, chocolate makes me feel better in the moment. And that's whatever drug, that's why you see people with drug addictions. It's like, I know that I'm likely to wake up tomorrow in my own vomit, but still, in this moment right now, it's worth it.
You're right.
And that's the brain, and it's allowing ourselves to recognize that self-sabotage is just misguided self-love. When we are harming ourselves in those ways, it's not that we're trying to do ourselves in, even though it may look like it. It's like, wow, I'm really trying to kill myself here, whether it's quickly or slowly with unhealthy food. But we're not thinking that way. What we're thinking is, I'm in pain at the moment, whether it's just, mild anxiety or stress, or actual, real, gut wrenching emotional pain, and I need to fix this. And over the years, hey, chocolate's always made me feel better. Ice cream's always made me feel better. Cookies, cigarettes, alcohol, whatever it might be. And even though I know there are going to be really unfortunate consequences, I will deal with those later. Right now, I have to deal with the pain that's present in this moment. I can't be bothered with possible pain that might happen in the future. And that's when I might start saying, and I've heard of people who live to 120 years even though they drank and smoked. So, hey, there's no guarantee that drinking and smoking is going to cause me pain and hurt me, but I do know that the pain I feel right now is real.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, allowing ourselves, rather than beating ourselves up for our unhealthy behavior, really having some self-compassion and appreciating the loving intention, and then choosing to find a healthier alternative. And you don't just generally drop a habit; you have to replace a habit. So tapping is a very simple and effective way of really dealing with the pain that's right there and clearing it out. Because the
Brilliant.
because that emotional pain is like you were saying about the person that you were angry at, something that happened in the past. It's not happening in the present right now. And so often when we look at the fact that the body is constantly regenerating itself, old cells
Mm-hmm.
dying off, new cells growing, and the virtually the entire body is replaced over a period of about 7 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
So many of the things that are bothering us happen to a person that doesn't even really exist anymore at a physical level.
Right. Right.
We're just holding in the energy field, and we can change our mind about that if we allow ourselves to.
I really like that you brought up that this is the habit that we can use to replace. So we can replace those other habits with this. We learned
Yeah,
coping mechanisms from our parents and the people that were around when we were growing up. And those coping mechanisms might not serve us right now, but we don't have anything else, right? So now we
right.
can go, wow, okay, I'm not gonna run to the cigarettes or the alcohol or the sugar or the porn addiction or whatever it is that is, like you said, it's a misguided self love,
Yeah,
because we're in pain, but we can use the tapping, and if we want to, also, in addition to that, use affirmations or positive self talk or positive imagery,
right.
or use tapping, and then make sure we go to a therapist or a hypnotherapist or some kind of counselor, to augment, right? But just
Yes, I'm a big proponent of 12-step programs because
right.
I have known people in the past who were not aware of how challenging addictions are, and
Mm.
I've known people who said, "Oh, well, this person was saying they really needed a drink, and it was like a 10, and I tapped with them, and it was a 0, so they're cured of alcoholism now." I'm like, "No, no, no, no!" The fact that you've helped them clear the craving in the moment doesn't deal with a lifetime of addictive behavior. So for people need if you are dealing with an addiction, especially one that has life-threatening consequences, have a program that of continued support.
Mm-hmm.
I'm open to the possibility that in some cases, you could tap away so much that that kind of unhealthy craving never shows up. But I would never tell somebody after losing the craving in that moment that they're done. Because that would just be highly irresponsible.
Right. But it's a tool that we use
Yeah.
in the moment, that we can use
Yes.
preventively every morning when we wake up. And we can also use in the moment during times of stress, at stoplights, in between
Yeah.
business meetings,
Yeah.
throughout the day, and when we go to bed at night. Use it, do it for like 1-2 minutes a few times a day in order to clear out the stress, lower the cortisol, which is then we're not going to get to a point where we have to self-soothe.
Right. Right. And it's so the tapping in terms of addiction helps in two ways. So one, it deals with the immediate issue of the craving and whatever was is bothering us in that moment. It can also be used to heal those past injuries that contribute to the addiction.
Mm-hmm.
So over time, yes, we can absolutely clear out so much trauma and emotional pain that we rarely, if ever, feel inclined to do something self-destructive.
Right.
Uh, so there, that so it's helping at both levels. It's not just a band-aid in the moment, but it does help to clear the pain that's underneath the addiction. Just don't assume that it's it's all gone after a few minutes of tapping.
When I say addiction, I'm actually referring to 100% of the population. I think that a small percentage population will use addictive substances to the point where it's obvious, but 100% of us have been known to use something to self-soothe, whether it's binging on Netflix, eating a pint of
Yeah.
ice cream, choosing to smoke cigarettes, or whatever, do behaviors that
Yes.
we know aren't healthy, or play video games all night, but
Right.
we have self-soothed. And so when I say addiction, what I actually meant was unhealthy coping strategies.
Yes. Yeah. We all have drugs of choices because we all have to face challenging situations, and we all have our different ways, our learned behaviors, our
Mm-hmm.
defense mechanisms, our different ways of self-soothing, of making ourselves feel better, and unfortunately, so many of those are unhealthy things.
Right.
Some people learn very healthy coping mechanisms, lucky them. But and you're learning healthy mechanisms now. But yeah, absolutely. Eh, virtually everyone has some kind of less than ideal way of dealing with emotional or physical discomfort.
And now we have a new tool that is safe and effective and healthy and a great alternative.
Yep. Yep.
Awesome. This was so much fun, Brad. I know we could talk all day long, but I'm really excited for you to tell the listeners more about how they can learn from you. Obviously, the links to everything you do are going to be in the show notes of today's podcast at learntruehealth.com, including your access to your 800 YouTube videos. But I know you also have online workshops and you have in-person workshops. So tell us how people can work with you.
Yeah, thank you. So you can find that information on Tap with Brad and in the links, the show notes. So I have, besides the YouTube videos, I do have online courses, and I also do live workshops. So coming up very soon, I'll be up in your area, up in Seattle. Thank you for helping me find the venue. And
Absolutely. Yeah, you're doing it at the Linwood Convention Center, right?
from your recommendation.
Yes, I'm so glad that you chose that. I've been there several times for events, and then I've been to events where people who aren't from Seattle choose to rent a venue in the downtown Seattle, and no one goes downtown
Yeah.
Seattle for events. It's just like crickets. So yes, I hope that you get standing room only at your event at the Linwood Convention Center, and then in the same parking lot is a one of the best spas for women. It's like a Korean spa, only for women. Sorry, Brad,
Ah,
but
well,
but
geez.
all the women afterwards could go to the spa, and it's this amazing, very relaxing spa. So they'll already be relaxed, and then they can just walk across the parking lot to the best spa, my favorite spa to go to. But yeah, so Brad, tell us about the Seattle. When's it? What are the dates, and how can people buy tickets who are local?
Yeah. So if you're, so the Seattle workshop is going to be on April 13th. So that and the workshops that I have coming up will be day-long workshops from 10 to 4. So it's a lot of tapping. It's a lot of peeling a lot of layers of the onion, and I sometimes do 2-hour workshops. Sometimes I do full weekend workshops. Uh, I like having the longer workshops where we have a chance to really clear stuff out, then find the next layer, clear stuff out, and really get to a really amazing feeling place. So yeah, so that'll be on April 13th, and then in June I have workshops coming up in Austin, Las Vegas, Atlanta, and Philadelphia. And then later in the year, I will be in Toronto and Vancouver, and
Ooh,
probably some other places. I just haven't got beyond the next several months.
fantastic!
Hopefully, back in the UK this maybe this summer.
Very good. Well, those are some great cities. I know we have wonderful listeners in all those cities. So looking forward to them attending your live workshop. What's the difference between watching YouTube videos and attending a live workshop?
Well, the live workshops, one, they're a lot more fun, just because you have a live audience. It's fun for me as a recovering actor to have an audience. So I eat that. It's my favorite thing to do. But also the group energy is really powerful. And everyone who goes to live events says that. It's like it just there's you feel the other people with their energy shifting, and it's this combined energy. And so often you'll hear someone else. So many people have said, "I had something that I wanted to bring up, and I just couldn't." And then someone else said exactly what I wanted to say, brought up exactly what was bothering me, and that happens all the time. So those things that we feel unable to voice or we didn't even know, that happens all the time too, where people say, "I didn't know that was bothering me until this person brought it up." and feel so much better now. So there's an amazing group energy that's really powerful. Not that the tapping to the videos is not powerful on its own, and I try to make it as fun as possible. It's the bring in some humor, so it's the spoonful of sugar that helps the medicine go down, as opposed to, all right, now let's deal with this really unhappy situation and tap tap tap, because that's it's already painful enough. It's like, why would I want to do that? But so taking that lighter approach to it, and not that we don't deal with some heavy stuff sometimes, but taking that lighter approach. So if I always say to folks, look, if you like my videos, you're going to love a live workshop. If you love my videos, you should already be signed up for the live event.
Very cool. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. I like that you brought up, like, you might not think of your problem in that way, and then you hear someone else say it. So people can grab the mic and share, but the introverts who are listening right now are freaking out. So you don't have to you don't have to like put your hand up or share at a mic.
No, no,
But as someone who does, you might start to see your problem in a different light, and so that's
yes.
actually very cathartic to hear other people resolve their problems. Do you do like sort of on stage one-on-one coaching with people?
I rarely do that now. Sometimes if I do a longer workshop, there might be times where it feels appropriate to bring somebody up to work more specifically on them. But in general, I'll ask the audience. It's all stuff created by the group that's there. So every workshop is different
Got it.
because it's always a different group. But I'll tend to leave them in their seat so that the tapping around that I do is for everybody, and I'm looking at everyone as we go through it. So yeah, it's only in the longer workshops where there may be times where that feels appropriate.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, this has been so much fun, Brad. I am very excited to hear about all my listeners, their results working with you. We have a great group of our listeners in our Facebook group, the Learn True Health Facebook group. So after we publish a show, I'm sure we'll be chatting in that group about you and my listeners' experiences as they follow your YouTube videos and hopefully also go see you live. Is there anything that you'd like to say to wrap up today's interview?
The last thing I always like to say in interviews is express to me the importance of self-love and learning to love yourself. And I do believe that we all do love ourselves. And that's why I say that the self-sabotage is misguided self-love. But allowing ourselves to acknowledge that love, because so many of us have programming saying that loving yourself is wrong, it's arrogant and conceited and things like that. And it's really at the root of turning things around for yourself and your relationship with others and the world at large. Because as you allow yourself to love yourself more, real genuine love, arrogance is trying to pretend, trying to convince yourself that you're better than other people. And if you're doing that, then that's because you have some doubt. if when you really acknowledge how awesome you are, you can't help but start to see how awesome other people are, and help them to realize that too. And it's a total win-win situation. So any reasons you might have as to why you couldn't or shouldn't love yourself more, please tap those away. And allow yourself to acknowledge your awesomeness and share it with the world. And thank you for doing that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brad. It's been such a pleasure having you on the show today. You are welcome back anytime you want to teach us more EFT and how to have an awesome day and awesome life.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on the show, Ashley. I've had a great time chatting with you, and I greatly appreciate this opportunity to share this work with your listeners.
Wasn't that a fantastic interview with Brad Yates? Don't you just love EFT? And wouldn't you just love to go and meet him live and in person and do his class? If you can, you should absolutely do that. I'm going to make sure that the links to all of the dates of his live events are in the show notes of today's podcast at learntruehealth.com. But just to reiterate, in case you don't have a pen handy, I want you to know that the upcoming dates are Saturday, April 13th at Seattle. You can go to learntruehealth.com/Seattle to sign up there. Saturday, June 8th in Austin, Texas. You can go to learntruehealth.com/Austin to sign up there. Sunday, June 9th in Las Vegas. Go to learntruehealth.com/Vegas to sign up there. Saturday, June 22nd in Atlanta, Georgia. And go to learntruehealth.com/Atlanta to sign up there. And finally, to come to his Tap Into Your Best Self class in Philly, go to learntruehealth.com/Philadelphia. I hope to see you there in Seattle if you're local. If not, and you do go to one of the other classes, make sure that you say hi to Brad and you tell him how much you just loved his interview. We should definitely have him back on the show. If you like this interview too, come to the Facebook group and comment and let me know what you think. I know we'll definitely start a discussion about this interview after it goes live in the Learn True Health Facebook group. Funny story I have to share with you. Just today, one of our listeners, Marcy, posted in the Facebook group, and she said, "Can I just say how much I love Ashley James and Learn True Health? My husband just called from the car on his way home from a business trip and said, 'Hey, I've been listening to your girl, Ashley James.' And then he started telling me about one of the episodes like I haven't heard it yet. He was pumped up about minerals and several other tidbits. Thank you, Ashley, for putting out the best podcast on true health." I got to tell you, I'm smiling ear to ear. I was totally tickled me pink, and I said, "Hey, tell me his name. I got to do a shout out." So his name's Neil Westphalian, and I hope I said that right. And Neil, big shout out to Neil. I always love it when husbands and wives or boyfriend girlfriends or partners, sisters and brothers, and I love it when friends get together and listen to the show. I always love it when I hear that someone said, "Yeah, my friend turned me onto this," or "my sister or my cousin turned me onto this." Or what I get a lot is "my mom turned me onto this," or I'll get a mom say, "My daughter turned me onto this." And I just love it. I love that we can share this information and that we can have this common ground of wanting to celebrate and build and cultivate true health together. Isn't it amazing that we can express our gratitude and love for one another by sharing podcasts like this that will help enrich their lives? So thank you so much for sharing this podcast. Come join the Facebook group if you haven't already and join the fun discussions there. And Neil, big shout out to you. Thanks for having a fantastic business trip traveling home while listening to the Learn True Health podcast. Awesome. Can't wait to see you guys in the Facebook group, and have yourselves an excellent rest of your day.